Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Isai.
Just want to give one while we're waiting for just a guy or two. Usually we introduce people, we talk about them. I'm going to talk about his father for a second. I went to Miss Sifter in Cleveland, Donnie Bader. The Rebbe's father was my Rebbe. He saved hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of kids throughout the years. How many years was he in Cleveland?
60 years.
60-some years. Really a heart of gold. And day in and day out, he dealt with very, very interesting young men and never lost his patience, which was an ace which you cannot even imagine. And it's just an honor. You can't imagine. I know if you know the father, the son is in the footsteps, and it's just a tremendous honor that I can even introduce you.
Thank you very much. You mentioned it, so I'll just express something. Rabbi Isai, I'm going to tell you something a little bit emotional, personal. Rabbi Isai, I miss my father. My father was nifter 7 years ago. He was Baruch Hashem 90 years old. But I miss him. He was a great man. I was Zayich for the last year and a half of his life. He moved there to Eretz Yisrael. I had a schus to mishamash him to do kibbut av for the year and a half that he was here. All the years I lived 6,000 miles away. He would come for Pesach. It wasn't so easy because it was a lot of time. It was time consuming to be there. He was older. To be there for him always, to take care of his needs. I had a yeshiva also. But guys, I miss him. What am I telling you? Chap arayin. You know what chap arayin means? Grab it while you have it. You have a father. You have a mother. Do keep it avein. Do grab it while it lasts. I miss the mitzvah of kibbut avein. Besides missing my father, I miss the mitzvah of kibbut avein. You don't lose any time. I once heard this B'Shem Rebbe Chaim Sonnenfeld, who said, the Torah says, "Kabed savich v'asimecha," respect your parents, your elders, your parents. L'man yarichon yamecha, you should be zeichet to a long life. People think sometimes, but I have to do this. I have no time. I have to take care of this. You will not lose out for the time that you spent on your parents. Hashem will give it back to you. Will give it back to you. I wasn't planning on saying this, but you just mentioned my father. I want to just tell you that. I have a picture in my dining room. I have a picture in my study. And I have a picture hanging on the wall. I see my parents all the time. And I try that everything I do should be Ilu Nishmasam, because they really deserve it. Because they brought me here. They brought me up. And that's the way Hashem does it, Lamaisa. That every action, whatever you want to do for someone else, you have to have kavanah ilu nishmasai. For parents, whatever you do automatically goes to their source. But guys, chaperayim while they're alive. Chaperayim, keep it up, man. Okay, Rabbi Isai. Shalom Aleichem to you all. It's such an honor and privilege to be here to speak to young men such as you about such a topic which means so much to me. Emunah, bitachon. It's something which you never stop growing in. It's something which is so blissful, so calming. You have no idea the feeling when you live with Emunah, when you live with bitachon. The feeling of being embraced by the Rebbeinu Shalom. The feeling of Yishakeni Minashikais Piyu. You know what those words mean? It's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim. Yishakeni Minashikais Piyu. Kiss me from the kisses of your mouth. Shema Melech refers to the relationship of Klaisa with Rebbeinu Shalom. Rebbeinu Shalom, give me a kiss. Yishakeni. And you feel that kiss. You feel that embrace. I'll tell you honestly, there's so many different thoughts going in my head, what to speak about, what to say. I was planning on starting one thing, but I'm going to start with something else. You know, I'm going to start with something. I just reminded myself something. 38 or 39 years ago, I was already 2-3 years after my chasana, and a friend of mine got married, and he came to live in Eretz Yisrael. By him was still Shana. So night said I used to go to his house to live with him, and I saw on his fridge, came one day to live with him at night, and his fridge was a poem. I saw the poem. Guys, I went crazy from it. It was so beautiful. You might know it. I was just so taken by it. It had such a Jewish flavor. Footsteps in the Sand. You ever heard that poem? Yeah, you know it? Anyone doesn't know it? Okay, I need one for it. I love saying this over. I just love this poem. I just love it. I tell you, I might get a little bit emotional because it really takes me. A fellow was having a dream. One night he was having a dream. He was dreaming that he was walking on the seashore, taking a walk, and all of a sudden, in a dream you can dream anything. An elephant can fit through a needle hole also. In a dream anything can happen. And he was dreaming that he was walking together, so to speak, with the Rebbeinu Shalom. And they're walking on the beach, and like, so to speak, 4 footsteps in the sand. He's walking together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he's going along, and all the different scenes of his life come up. Good things, bad things. You know, here his bar mitzvah, and here he got married, and here he made $1 million, and here he broke his hand, and here his father died, and here this tragedy happened. And he noticed something very peculiar. When all the good things in his life were happening, there were 4 footsteps in the sand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was together with him. And any time a scene of something sad, unpleasant, tragic happened in his life, there were just 2 footsteps in the sand. He was left alone. It's almost a dream, but nothing wrong. And it bothered him so much that at those difficult moments, Hashem should leave him. And he turns to the Rebbeinu Shalom and he says, Hashem, why in those difficult moments, when things were so tough and rough for me, you left me on my own? I'll tell you, I saw this, I went crazy. And there's a guy, there was a Bach who was living in my house then. He came from Kiryat Arba, he was living in Yeshiva in Yerushalayim. And I was all crazy about it. Then he got married afterwards, and his wife was a calligraphist. She made me a calligraphy. She made a whole poem. One second, and Hashem answers back to him, and he says, my dear child, I love you, and I care for you. All those times when things were going good, and you saw 4 footsteps in the sand, I was walking next to you. In those difficult moments, those difficult times where you see only 2 footsteps in the sand, those are not your footsteps, those are my footsteps. Because in those times, I was carrying you in my arms, I was holding you. I was so blown away by it. It had such a Yiddish tam. And I found afterwards, it's a Rashi in Parshas B'Shalach. Rashi in B'Shalach says that when the Mitzrayim came, running after the Yidden, when they went out of Mitzrayim, Hashem put the Anon between the Mitzrayim and the Yidden. And all the arrows that the Mitzrayim threw went into the clouds, into the Anani HaKavod. And the Rashi brings a mashal. A father's going together with his son, and listim bandits come from the front, so he puts his son behind. A wolf comes from behind, he puts his son in the front. But what happens when the bandits come simultaneously with the wolf from the front and the back? What does Papa do? Papa takes his child and puts him on his shoulder. So too, Ani tirgalti le'Ephraim, Rashi says, the Rebbeinu Shem says, Kochim az re'osai, I took you in my arms when things were difficult. And then I realized, it's not just Rashi and Mishalach. Every night, when I say Kriya Shema Lamita, and I say Yoshe B'Seiser Elyon, what's the pasuk that we say? Al Kapayim Yisa'uncha. You will be carried in my arms. Al Kapayim Yisa'uncha. When? Pen Tigoith Be'efen Raglecha. If there's a chance that you might stumble over a pebble, over a stone, I will be carrying you in my arms. Rabbi Isai. It was beautiful. But I was so bothered because you know who wrote the poem? Bob McCormick. Some shagets. Some guy. It killed me. It had such a Yiddish time. It had such a Yiddish time. Bob McCormick. I was going out of my mind. Till, you ready for this, guys? You ready? Till, fast forward 22 years. When I had the poem, I had it in calligraphy. That friend of mine, that Baruch was telling me, his wife made it for me. And Purim, I used to talk about it. During the year, I used to have it in a folder. I used to pull it out, and I just loved it. It was something, Fast forward 22 years, it was Shabbos morning of my second daughter's Shabbos Sheva Brachas. And I got up there, and I said, you gotta take this poem and rip it to shreds, because only a shagets can write such stupidity. Huh? Do you know what this shagets is writing? You know what this lowlife is writing? You know what he's writing? That things were going good. Hashem's walking next to me. I'm more or less being mistader. Difficult times, he's holding my arms. Are you crazy? And when things are going good, you're managing by yourself? Only a shagets, only a fire could write such stupidity. Take the thing and rip it up in shreds. Hashem is holding me in his arms 24/7, 365. Yes, Bob McCormick, take your kfira, take your poem, and take your garbage. I don't need it. But I still have it, don't worry. Just to say what's not there. Anyway, Rabbi Isai, the feeling of, you know, I'll tell you, like 8 or 9 years after my chasana, I was sick with hepatitis. Hepatitis is an Israeli illness with the liver. That's not as common as it used to be then. Mamish wasn't feeling well. And I remember I read a story. This was something I remember exactly how I was standing by the door to my dining room, and I was leaning against the wall, and and the tears just came down. I was just so blown away. I wasn't feeling good in there. And the story was, there's a Yid Moshe Prager. This is what I'm trying to get to. How do we get to something like this? How do we get to a place like this? Because this is what Emunah B'Tachon is, to feel so secure in all situations, in all matzavim, and to feel that, you know, you're here, I know, you'll take care, you're here, this way, that, whatever's gonna happen. I'll explain a little bit better soon. How do we get to there? And the story was, there's a Yid, Moshe Prager. Moshe Prager, after the Holocaust, he lived in Eretz Yisrael, but he was a writer. He had a beautiful koyach of ksiva, and he went to the DP camps to interview the guys. He had a murdik koyach to squeeze out. He really wanted to get the neshama of the Yid, what was going on there in the camps, of the beauty of the Yid. And he was sitting there with a whole bunch of people in one of the different camps, 60, 70 people, from all ages, ranging from 20, 25 till 60, 70. And there was one bacher over there, one bacher, younger than you, a kid 17, 18 years old. He sat there and he was interviewing them, talking to them, all together, and this kid kept quiet the whole time. He didn't open up his mouth. Until he threw out a question. He says, guys, were you able to makayim mitzvahs in the concentration camps? And they all screamed, what, mitzvahs? The second we came, took everything away from us. There was no tefillin, there was no tzitzis, there was no Shabbos, there was no Yom Kippur. And it's after the talk ready for an hour or two, and all of a sudden, the 17-year-old kid in the back, all of a sudden pipes up. And he says in Yiddish, if you wanted to, you were able to. A little 17-year-old shrimp. And they turn him out. God, hey, dude, what are you talking about? When was the last time you put on tefillin in the camps? I didn't miss a day. Every day I put on tefillin. Moshe Krager saw this ain't a simple kid. A 17-year-old kid put on tefillin every single day in the camps. He says, what's your name? He said, my name is Shlomo. Shlomo, how did you manage to put on tefillin every single day? And he said there was one guy who smuggled in a pair of tefillin. He was in a different barrack. Roll call was at 10 to 5, 4:30 in the morning. I used to run. A few people ran to that guy's barrack, put on the shalyat and shalayat for 10 seconds, just to try Yisrael Shalom Kin Hashem Echad, and this Moshe Prager was blown away. A 70-year-old kid to wake up 4:30 in the morning. You went to, every 1 minute of sleep, there was no food there. You got 100 grams of bread a day. All you had was a little bit of sleep and give up sleep to go put on film. And he says, Shlomo, did you ever get caught? What? Tell me. What happened? One morning, I went there 4:30. There were a few guys in front of me. By the time I finished, it was like 16 minutes to 5. And I started going back to my barrack. And the Nazi, Yamach Shemoy, that morning came a few minutes early. And he saw me walking over there at 4:45 in the morning. And he screamed at me, Zid! Wo gehst du? Where are you going? And I saw there was no point in lying. So I told him, I just put on film. Ligner, liar. Show me. He pulled up a sleeve. I showed him on film. Okay, I got caught one time. Moshe Parker tells him, but what happened? What happened? The Nazi Yamach Shemoy got so infuriated that I was able to put on film in the camps. He grabbed me by the shirt, he lifted me up and just threw me down. Moshe Parker, this kid ain't no simple kid. And he says, Bachrel, tell me, when you were lying on the floor, what were you thinking in your head? Can you imagine this guy knew how to do it? He's thinking in your head, I'm lying on the floor getting smacked. Bachrel, what were you thinking about when you were lying on the floor? He says, hello, you have to understand, I was lying on the floor and this Nazi with his boot, he came in like he stepped on my chest. I thought it was all over. The pain was, but Shlomo, what were you thinking about when you were lying on the floor? But you don't understand, he gave me a smash on my face. I was bleeding from my mouth. But Shlomo, what were you thinking? After 6 times, finally this kid tells him, I was lying on the floor and I was just saying over and over and over a pasuk in Tehillim, I think it's from Kapitel Chavei. Re'ei Anyi ve'amali. Hashem, see my pain and my suffering. V'sa l'chol chatoisai, and forgive me for all of my affairs. 17-year-old kid lying on the floor in a pool of blood, and all he has on his mind is, Rebbeinu Shalom, please look at my pain and my suffering and forgive me for all my wrongdoings. How does a person get to such a level? How does a person get to such a level? honest with you guys, my journey, I was born on FFB. I was from birth. I lived in a yeshiva. My father was a rebbe. My father was a yeshiva. He was in Telz, and then he went to go. There was the Rosh Hashanah where he learned. But my journey of Emunah, my own Emunah, I'll tell you something. I just mind myself. I don't know how many years ago it was, about 10 or 15 years ago. There was a magazine, Jewish Observer, used to come out. Jewish Observer, it's not many years ago, I don't know, but there was a time when it started the movement, not the movement, it started the OTD, kids were going off the derech a little bit, and there was a whole magazine, Jewish Observer, about OTDs, and and they made another copy of it, I remember that, it was a murder. I saw an article over there, one little article which took me so stark. We say in davening always, Elokeinu v'Elokei Aviseinu. What does that mean? Our God and the God of our fathers. Is that chronological order? The right order is the God of our fathers and our God. No? And he wrote over there something profound. You cannot go with Elokeinu and Elokeinu. Elokeinu Aviseinu is only after there's Elokeinu. You have to have your own connection. You can add on that, my father, of course, when we were little kids, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11 years old, maybe till there, yeah, my father told me, but once you get intelligent, 14, 15, 16 and up, you gotta get it yourself. You could add on Elokeinu Aviseinu. That's what I'm saying. My journey, my personal journey, in really connecting to Emunah, connecting to Bitachon. You know when it started? This goes back 26, 27 years ago. A friend of ours, he was older than us, was my first, 42 years ago after my chasna, we lived across the hall from a couple, didn't have children for many years, and they had children, they had one child was a CP, then they had 3 healthy children, and then when he was 52 years old, he got hepatitis, and the wife wasn't hungry with the other child. It was a crazy thing. And he was unconscious. The kids didn't want to see the little kid. It was a crazy story. They took him to France. He had a liver transplant. I said, he didn't make it. The Almana, every week, she had Mishnayos in the house for the first year, and then every yard side, she'd come, friends would come to her house, and a different person would speak. The second yard side, the Mashgiach Reb Don Segel spoke. This goes back 26, 27 years ago. And this is where my journey started. Because he said something over which sent a shudder up my spine. And he said over from the Chazon Ish. I was growing up in the 60s and the 70s, 15 years after the Holocaust. I was living with people who went through the war, who went through terrible things, and I saw it. I saw different types of people. There were people, a lot of people went into the war, into the Holocaust. They were maminim. Nobody walked out of the Holocaust the way they went in. There's some people who went in, and Rahman al-Islam, they went through what they went through. They were maminim when they went in, but at the time they came out, they were atheists. They didn't believe. They were kafir in Rahman al-Islam. There were other Yidden who went in, and they just came out so strong. In their Emunah B'Tachon, Ad Kedei Kach, so far that when the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoelish, left Eretz Yisrael, when the Medina was instated, he went to America, and Hasidim went to him, who should we go to for a bracha? And he said, go to any shul, and you see in the morning a Yid pulling up his sleeve, and he's putting on tefillin, and there's a number tattooed in his arm, and he's putting on tefillin, you can go to him for a bracha. If he is still putting on tefillin, he must be so steadfast. And I always said to myself about those people who lost their Emunah, Al Todunas Chavercha. You can't be judgmental about these people. They went through my uncle, my father's brother. He was 3 years younger than my father, so he was together with my grandfather in the concentration camp. My father was in yeshiva already, so he ran with tells. He went into Russia, but he was in the camps, and he came out of there a Maimon and Erlich Yid, and Amoritz, his yeshiva was Auschwitz, and his Rosh Yeshiva was Hitler, so he didn't learn too much Torah there. But he came to Israel, he wanted the Yiddishkeit, and he opened up, he started Moshav Kumius, he made 8 Shmitas, Apida Chazon Ish, Mamash, and he told me one time, if I would just tell you the things which I saw as a kid, 11, 12 years old, your hair will stand on end. You won't be able to sleep for months. That's what these people went through. I didn't want to be judgmental about them. There was one person, Rabbi Isai, and this is what Rabbi Don Sega, the Mashgiach, said over, and it shook me up to the core. And it shook me up to the core. And he said, there was one person who had no rachmanis. And again, I have to say this. I say it at least 20 times. Rabbi Isai, I am not saying this to speak about those people. I'm saying it to speak to myself, to tell us what we should be thinking about. I'm just saying it because what he said about that's not the nukuda. I don't want to talk about them. I just want to bring out the point that he said. And he said, the Chazon Ish had no rachmanis on these people. It's a big rachmanis, but again, I don't want to talk about them, but it's a message that he said. He said, take a cup of water. Take sand from the beach and put it into the water, mix it all up. It's filthy. Put the cup down, let it stay on the table for a minute or two, or even half a minute, a minute. All the sand will go down to the bottom, and the water is crystal clear. And not only is it crystal clear, when I was in 6th grade and they brought in, I did not have a television in my house, but once a week we had WVIZ educational television in 6th grade, and then it showed a whole scientific thing that to clean, in the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland, to clean water, you put sand and it takes out all the chemicals. So the water gets mamish purified and gotten. Now, you shake the table where the water is with that sand in it, and the water gets all filthy again. Says the Chazon Ish. Rabbi, again, I don't want to talk about them, but I heard this, and it sent a shudder up my spine. And he says, a Yid, if things happen in their lives, in his life, and because of things which happen in his life, he gets shaken up, and he loses his Emunah, you know what that means? It was filthy the whole time. It was rotten the whole time. The filth was just lying dormant, and the situation just brought it out. Because somebody who has real Emunah, there's nothing in the world that could shake it up. Rabbi said, I don't want to talk about them. I heard that line. I remember like today. Rabbi said, I was shaken up to the core. Where am I holding? I was brought up in the US of A. I was brought up al sir habasar. We had a pot of meat. We lived a luxurious life. We had everything. We didn't know what it means to lack. And I'm walking thinking to myself, I'm a maimin, I'm a babitachim. Is it really? What will happen if you don't get shaken up? It was such a scary thought. Would I stand up to the challenge? Would I stand up if situations came up that these people went through? Yeah, I'm walking around, I'm a maimin, of course. Everything is going so good, everything is going so sweet. And I said to myself, I gotta do something. What am I gonna do to secure myself, to be able to know that I'm gonna stand up to adversity, I'm gonna be able to stand up to challenges, I'm gonna be able to stand up to difficulties. And I thought to myself, how do I do this? And I came to, I'm telling you, this is 27, 28 years ago. And I came to a gewaltige, phenomenal understanding. The Pasuk says, Chavakuk says, V'tzadik be'emunasa yichya. The Gemara in the end of Makkah says, HaKadosh Baruch gave 613 mitzvahs, then Yeshaya and then David HaMelech made it into 15, and then Yeshaya made it into 6, Micha made it into 3. Chavakuk came and put everything into one. What was the one thing? V'tzadik be'emunasa yichya. What do those words mean? Literally, it can mean v'tzadik be'emunasa yichya. With b'schus what does the tzaddik live? What gives him life? How does he get sustained? From his emunah. Because he believes in Hashem. Hashem takes care of him. That could be the Pashup Pshat. From that, Gemara Marx, I'm not going to bring you now what my raya was. I had a completely different understanding of what v'tzadik be'emunasa yichya. You know what v'tzadik be'emunasa yichya means? V'tzadik be'emunasa yichya. It's coming to explain to us. V'tzadik, you not from what does the tzaddik live, b'schus what? It's coming to tell us the essence of the tzaddik. V'tzadik, you want to know what a righteous person is? Emunah yichya. He lives his Emunah. It's not something abstract. It's not something. He lives his Emunah. And that's what I told myself. I gotta start training myself to live Emunah. And I came across people who live Emunah. That Bachel of Re'ei Oniv Amol, years later, I found out recently, a few years ago, I found out that in Svar Magdoshim it says, when something happens to a person, you bang your finger, something not so good happens to you. You should say this pasuk of Re'ei Oniv Amol, see my pain and my suffering, v'soloch chatosai, and a person who does that, when something bad, a little thing happens to him, and he says that pasuk, it's mamish better rebbeinu shalom, if you have to mean it, it's gewaldig. But I said to myself, live Emunah. How do I live Emunah? How do I live Emunah? But I came across people who lived Emunah from our times. I'm not talking about great big tzaddikim. I'm talking about a mother. I have 3 of her sons learned by me in yeshiva. Not even being an Israeli should have had before. 3 sons learned by me. I didn't even know she was sick with cancer for 9 years. Naomi Rinat, her name was. It should be Ilu Nishmasa. She died when she was 48 years old. She had cancer for 9 years. I didn't even know about it. 3 of her sons learned by me in that whole tkufa. 1 year she had respite. One time maybe I spoke to her. Even later I found out. And I went to Menachem Avram. She was a Balas Tshuva when she was 18. She grew up at a kibbutz. She became a Balas Tshuva when she was 18, 19 years old. And she had cancer when she was 39 until she was 48. I remember they put out a book afterwards. Zois Naomi, one of the kids gave it to me. And it was the middle of Bein Hazmanim, summer Bein Hazmanim. I just couldn't put the book down. The whole story of her life, how involved and what she lived. So much achlas. She married a husband, Ron Rinat, such a, and that's Chachnas' Orchim. They were Makar. It was a beautiful house. The kids were such gems of children. I went to Menachem Avram, and listen, what this means: a person who lives Emunah. And the oldest boy, Avremi, he tells me there's a story of 20 years already. After I was just blown away. And he says it was 3 days before she was nifter. It spread all over. There was no hope. She knew she was going. She called me and my sister in, and she says to both of us, sit down on the bed. I want to tell you something. It was very hard for her to talk. They have a cassette, they have a tape of it, but it's very hard to hear. It was very hard for her to talk. And she told them, I know my end is near. I know it's coming to an end, but I want to just tell you, you saw what I suffered these 9 years. 1 year I had respite, but the treatments and the machla itself, the suffering that I went, I want you to know, I'm leaving this world. This is crazy. A 48-year-old woman, she became about 18, 19 years old. It means she was from for 30 years. And she says to her children, her son, her daughter, oldest son, her oldest daughter, and he tells them, I'm leaving this world without an iota, without a mashu of chas v'sholem, any complaint or any taina or tina complaint on HaKadosh Baruch Hu for what I went through. I am leaving this world. And with our last klichas, it was like for 10, 15 minutes, leaving this world with a heart full of gratitude to the Rebbeinu Shalom for all his chasadim. And she started telling them how she became a Balas Tshuva, and how she was able to find her husband, how she was able to have children, how the cure for that she was able to do. It's crazy. That's Emunah Yichya. That's Emunah Yichya. A plain, simple woman from our day and age. I'll tell you one other thing, and then I'll tell you the Nikud that I want to tell you. Then I'll tell you the Vart. Then I want to tell you what's the Lamaisa. How did we do it Lamaisa? There's a friend of mine. His father was Mayor Miller. He was a Rav in Bat Yam. He married his wife. This friend of mine, his parents got married after the war. After the war in a DP camp. They met each other, and someone made the shidduch, and they got married. And one of his sons is David Miller. He's Rosh Hashiva in Panovich today. He's one of the Rebbeim in Panovich. And his younger brother Alexander told me this. Their sister, that means this Mayor Miller's daughter, was 56 years old, and she was never nifter. They're already in their 80s, the parents, and the father had to say a hesped by Levi on his daughter. And you know what it is? No one should ever know about it. A father having to say a hesped on his daughter after losing everything they lost in the war. And he gets up there and he says, all I can say to the Rebbeinu Shalom is the chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that your daughter died. And he explained as follows. This is crazy. The way people could think, the way a Yid who's a Maimon about B'tachin could think. And he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in this world to do mitzvahs, to accumulate over our lives mitzvahs, tefillin, Shabbos, tzitzis, etc., etc., etc. One of the mitzvahs that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us is the mitzvah of Avelus. What's the mitzvah of Avelus? If one of your 7 Krayvim, father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter, spouse, dies, you have to sit shiva. My wife and I are already over 80. How many years do we have left to live? We went through life. The normal way of life is parents, older siblings die first, and the younger siblings, the children, sit shiva on their parents. My wife and I both went through the Holocaust. We lost all our families. We have no idea when they died, how they died, where they died. We never sat shiva in our lives. Our life is coming to an end. Hashem wanted to give us the opportunity to do the mitzvah of Avelus, of sitting shiva, with the only possible way, because the only relatives we have is our children. So Hashem would take away a child for us, so we should be zeiche to be able to sit shiva in the kind of the mitzvah of Avelus. Isn't that crazy? Do you have what you're saying? It's Emunah Yichya. That's living Emunah. And there I was, 27 years ago. I was a young man, 35 years old, and where do I start from? And I started learning and Rabbi Sai. Emunah and B'tachin is something that you never outgrow. You keep on growing and growing. It's phenomenal. It's great. If you have pen and paper, anyone has pen and paper, just wants to write down 7 words. 7 words. If you have pen and paper, 7 words. 7 words. Chavis Avavas tells us 7 things. And Rabbi Yisrael, I want to tell this to you. And I found that in Shemona Esrei, in the words Hakel HaGod LaGibra V'Anoir, and I say 3 times a day, I go through all of those 7 every time, and you live it, and you experience it, and you think about it, and I'm telling you guys, you become connected. If you have a pen and paper, take down these 7 words. It's a Rashi Tevis. Mem Ches Tes, Machat. It means no, it has no meaning, just for myself, I should remember them. Dalid Yud Nun Hey, Dina, Machat Dina. These are the 7 things that the Chavis Avavas writes that a Yid has to believe in order to be able to be a Baal B'tachin. Do you know what the difference in Emunah and B'tachin is? What's Emunah, what's B'tachin? You have any clue? How would you describe what's Emunah, what's B'tachin?
Isn't Emunah part of B'tachin?
Yes. So how do you differentiate? Very good, you're right. How do you separate the 2 things? Emunah B'tachin, Chazon Ish explains it so beautifully. If we were to right now sit down and learn Hilchos Pesukei de Zimra, that if you come late, if you middle Pesukei de Zimra and someone says Kaddish, B'richu you don't say, Amen, Amen, Yishmael you do say. Is that halacha or halacha l'maisa? No, it's halacha, because right now you're not in the middle of davening. It's theoretic, right? Tomorrow morning by Shacharis, when you be in the middle of Pesukei de Zimra, then it's going to be halacha l'maisa. You got it? That's the Emunah and B'tachin. Emunah is the halacha. B'tachin is halacha l'maisa. Emunah is the theory of what it's all about, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is all about. B'tachin is when crunch time, when push comes to shove, to put it to apply the knowledge of Emunah. You hear what I'm saying? It's beautiful. Emunah and B'tachin. Says the Chavis Avavas, there are 7 things that a person has to believe in. I'm telling you, this is so beautiful. My youngest son should be Gesund and Stark, Hashem. He's married, has 2 children, just made a bris 2-3 weeks ago, and he was born a preemie though. I remember I went out to listen to Shir to Shimshon Pinkus, and I come back to my wife walking to the bus stop, and I went to listen to Shir and Geula from Saratskin, and I come back like an hour and a half later, and there's 2 girls in my house. They had like 6 we had 9 kids then, 9 kids in the house, and there were 2 girls in my house, young teenagers, and they said, "Oh, if you want your wife, she's in the hospital." They rushed her to the hospital. What? And her father's doctor, and one of the father's doctors, Dr. Stein, in my building, whatever, rushed to the hospital. I took a taxi, rushed down to the hospital, and I just caught a glimpse of her taking me to the operating room. She just had to have an emergency. She was pregnant. She had to have an emergency C-section. And it was like 7 months. The kid was 7 months. He came out of preemie, and he was in the ICU, the preemie ICU. I remember they wanted very much parents should come, and then one time we came, and they said, "Get out of here! What are you doing?" I know what happened. We came back. They apologized. They said, "Push this kid. His lung burst. I'm telling you, it was up and down. It was mamish a yo-yo." Baruch Hashem, today he's married. He has 2 children. Baruch Hashem. And but then, after running in the hospital, going up, and I just learned the chayvus of was then machatina. This thing kept me going. You have no idea. It's such a chizuk. Now let me tell you the 7 things. Pen and paper. Machatina. Mem. I'll tell you what the words are, and I'll explain each one. Mem is merachim. These are the 7 things Chayvus Alvava says a person has to believe in order to be able to bitachon. Bitachon means that in every situation, I'm CCC, I'm calm, cool, collected, I'm okay, I'm answering by Hashem. It'll be good. Hashem will take care of you. It'll be the best, whatever you'll soon see. It's phenomenal. It's the peace of mind. It's benuchas hanefesh. The 7 things a person has to believe in order to be able to be about bitachon. Mem is merachim. I'll explain every word in a second. I'm just telling you the word. I worked on this, and then just to get it. Perak Beis, Perak Gimel, Shana B'tachon. Merachim is mem. Ches is chazak, strong. Merachim is merciful. Ches is chazak. Tes is toiva, good. Dalet is davar. Merachim, chazak, toiva. Dalet is davar. Yud is yodea, knows. Nun is nedava, and Hey is ishtadlus. Merachim, chazak, toiva. Davar, yodea, nedav, ishtas. Let me explain. And you have to have all 7. If any one of the 7 is missing, you can't be about bitachon. Trust means I trusted you, I rely on you. Merachim. The first thing, you got to work on this. I'm just telling you the words, but you have to internalize it, and you have to work on it. You have to find the ways and means to find the expression of it in your own life. Number 1 is merachim. In order to be about bitachon, first and there's no first and foremost. There's no 1, 2, 3, 4. Because in Perak Beis and Perak Gimel, because of a different order. The order does not make any difference. I made this order because it was easier to make a Rosh Hashanah. Merachim. A person has to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has more rachmanis on me. He has more mercy on me than anybody else in the world has on me. More than my father, and more than my mother, and more than my spouse, and more than my children. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the most rachamim, the most mercy, and loves me more than anybody else loves me. Merachim and oyev, love and mercy. I mean, more than and any mercy that anybody has on me, whether it's my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, my sisters, my spouse, my children, it's coming from the mercy of Hashem that He instilled in them mercy. Any love that there's in the world that someone has for me, Hashem loves me more than anybody else. It's crazy. And even more than I love myself. And over the years, you just think about it, you get it's so embracing, it's so heartwarming. Merachim. First, because if you don't believe that, so I know Hashem could do everything, but He couldn't care less about me. How can I trust Him? If you don't believe that He has mercy on you, and He loves you, and He cares about you, you will not be able to trust in Him. Of course He can do everything. He's not interested in me. Chazak. Strong. What does that mean, strong? Big muscles? Strong means there is no situation which is beyond the capabilities of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be able to help me. There is no situation which is beyond the capabilities, because if I think that there's such situations, when the doctor gives the prognosis, it's spread all over and you have 3 weeks to live, and you think Hashem can, then there's nothing to do. But Hashem can do everything, even when it's spread all over. He might not want to, for whatever the reason is, but not because He can't. Chazak. There is no situation which is beyond the capabilities of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do. Tes is taiva. Good. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what's best for me, even better than I know. Do you know, guys, I have a yeshiva. It's probably close to $3 million budget. I used to think to myself, I don't have too much out of this, I'm doing it for your kids. Why can't I just win the $30 million lottery and let me take, I'm doing, But I never had, I think about it, but I told myself, Hashem definitely knows what's best. He knows what's best for me. That's not the best thing for me, because if it would have been the best, I would have gotten it. And over the years, I began to realize Do you know how close I came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Because he didn't give me the $30 million lottery. And every year we got to pull together his money, and I have to trust in Hashem because it doesn't come from anywhere else. I just trust, and they make a phone call, and they make it this and that. And sometimes I get too involved in the phone call with these stars. Every one time I was speaking to a guy, some rich guy in Los Angeles, and I thought I was getting a little bit too carried away while I was speaking on the phone and talking about the issue about the money. I just put out a middle of Shana. I felt I was getting too carried away about this guy, and I was forgetting about Hashem. I just put out a middle of Shana. I was speaking on the phone. Hey, dude, you know. It's about the emotion, not about this guy. So I just have to get put myself in tone, Tova, Hashem, and Hashem knows what's best for me. What's more than I know for myself. Because if you don't believe that, you can't trust. You can't trust in somebody who thinks this is good for you, but it's not really good. Phenomenal. I'm going to skip Dalet for a second, Dover, because Dover and Ishtadlus go together. It's a bit difficult. Yedea, Yud is Yedea. Hashem knows. Listen, good, I'm going to tell you this. Hashem knows what I need, what I want, what's bothering me, and what's really bothering me. In Yiddish they say a saying, you scream at your wife, but you met your mother-in-law. You're agitated at your mother-in-law, she did something to you, and you come home all agitated, let out on your wife. But she's not the problem. You scream at your wife, but you meet your mother-in-law. Sometimes we let things come out, but something really deep which is really bothering us. I don't have time to tell you this story. There's a crazy story that I had. I'll just tell it to you quickly. It was Erev Shabbos. It was Friday morning. I was saying a shir. It was Israeli Bacher. I was saying a shir. In the Masif, there's a shir Friday also. Friday mornings is the hardest time to say shir, especially in the winter. There's only shir, and they finish at 11:30, and the rest of the day they're off. And there's no seder afterwards. So these guys want to go out already because your kids are the 14, 15-year-old kids and they want to go out free, So it has to be a real geschmack shir. It has to be really geschmack questions and thing, making them think and make it real. I really came Friday all prepared and everything else. And there was one bacher there, a big Balkish, got a real smart kid, but he's got a Yosem also, but he had ADHD, ADD, but it wasn't that, from A to Z, he had all the letters together. He had A, B, C, D, Z, P, P, Q, A, he had them all. He was a piece. And Lamaisa, that morning, this guy was, totally was jumping and thing. So one time I told him, Yehuda, bevakasha, please calm down. At the third time, because it was Friday morning, and he was distributing the whole shir, and I just lashed out at him, and I said, you the mice with your motto, so what are you doing? Behavior. I really lost it. Okay. Shit. I see, calm down. It worked, but I felt very guilty. I said, Friday, that Shabbos, I was in Shiva that Shabbos. Friday night by Kabbalah Shabbos, I was saying Ana B'Koyach. You ready for this, guys? I was saying Ana B'Koyach. And listen to the last words, the last phrase of Ana B'Koyach. Shavasenu Kabel. What do those words mean? Shavasenu Kabel. Accept our beseeching. Ushma tzakosenu. And hear our screaming. You Hashem, please listen to my screaming. Listen to my shouting. With which midah would you think you would want Hashem to use? Shemeat tefillah or shemeat tzedakah. What does it say in Ana B'Koyach? How do we say it? The one who knows hidden things. What? Shavasenu kabel. Listen to my screaming. Ushma tzakasenu. Listen to my shouting. You Hashem, who knows hidden things. I'm screaming my guts out. I called over that bocher after Kabbalah Shabbos, and I told him, Yudala, I want to tell you something. I want to ask you mechila for what happened this morning. You deserved to get screamed at, but I wasn't beseder for screaming at you. You weren't beseder, but I want to tell you something. I wasn't beseder either, and I explained to him why. I told him this thing of you. I chap shot in this idea. I told him was what happened this morning. Why did I scream at you this morning? You talk a word beseder. But 6 o'clock in the morning, that Friday morning, I got a phone call from America. I don't remember what it was about, but it really agitated me. I came to Yeshiva that morning, and my nerves were already stretched a little bit. I don't remember what the phone call was about, but my nerves were stretched already. You started misbehaving. my patience span, my tolerance level was already lowered because of that phone call. What I ended up screaming at you is because of my tolerance level was low. You could be deserved it, but if my tolerance level wouldn't have been so low, I might be able to control myself. So I deserve it. I have to ask you for an apology. And I learned it from this. Yedea Talumis. Rebbeinu Shem, I'm screaming to you about this, X, Y, and Z. If I would have to daven right then, I would have davened. Hashem, save me for this Yehuda kid. He's making my shir meshugget. But that's not the truth. The problem was that phone call that I got in the morning. Yedea, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what I need, what I want, what's bothering me, and what's really bothering me. What's really bothering me. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. Okay, rabbis, let's go weiter. That's Rechaz Yedea. And then goes Nedava. Nedava means donation. Because if you don't believe that Hashem knows everything about you, you can't rely on, of course he can do everything, but there's all my problems. He knows it better than you. It's phenomenal. He has more rachmanis, more mercy, and loves me more than anybody and anything else. Chazak, there's no situation that's difficult for him. Tell you that he knows what's best for me, and he knows all my situation, my needs, my wants, what's bothering me, what's really bothering me, etc. And then goes Nedava, donation. What's donation? Nedava, donation. Half the reason, so many times, I can't trust that Hashem is going to help me out and do what's best for me, because I know that I did Averis. I know that I don't deserve. I can't trust you, Hashem, that you're going to do what's best for me, because I don't deserve to get what's best for me. Mistake. Nedava. For every single yid, it makes no difference who you are and what you are. Hashem will do for you voluntarily. Even if you don't deserve it, he'll do what's best for you. Sometimes what's best for you is not what you want. And what's best for you sometimes is to break, to bang your finger and to hurt yourself, because that's best for you, because that's the best thing. Hashem will always stick to what's best for you. Now goes Davar and Ishtadlus. This is the hardest part. This is the hardest one. A guy has to believe the Emunah Shlema. A person has to believe 100%. You know how hard this is? You know how hard this is? That nobody, nothing, not an animate object, something which is not movable, not a growing object, not a living being, and not a human being. Nothing. No doimen, tzemeach, chai, or medaber. Nobody or anything could do good or bad to me. The only thing which could happen to me, good or bad, is only what was preordained and predestined and was decided by the Rebbeinu Shalom. But it looks to me that this guy punched me in the face. He did it. If I wouldn't deserve that punch, I wouldn't get it. He wouldn't be able to do it. Nobody, nothing could do good or bad to me if it was not nixed from the Rebbeinu Shalom. Do you know there's an issue in the Torah called revenge? You're not allowed to take revenge. What would you call that? Benadon l'chaveira, benadon l'makom. Benadon l'chaveira, of course. Benadon l'chaveira, benadon l'chaveira. What? What do you mean? Don't take revenge on someone who did something to you. Says the chinuch. What's the shirish of the mitzvah, the root of the mitzvah of revenge? You know what it is? Don't be an atheist. Don't be an atheist. Why are you taking revenge? Because he did something to you. That means you're denying you don't believe in God. Nobody could do anything good or bad to you. If you're taking revenge, it's about Emunah. It's crazy. Anger, kas. Kas is the antithesis of Emunah. You get angry at this guy, what? You think I can do something to you? Did you ever get angry at a banana peel when you slipped on a banana peel? You get angry that you slipped. You didn't get angry at the banana peel because he can't do nothing to you. That's what every human being is. A banana peel. It's crazy. And when you believe that, all situations, you know how much avoid it needs? And that goes together with Ishtabus. Not only nobody could do anything good or bad to me. You want to know who else can't do anything good or bad to me? Myself. I can't do good or bad to myself either. I'll jump off the roof, says the Chavos Avos. What's going to happen? You think you're going to die? No. It's a big suffix. If you were meant to die, you'll die. And if you're meant that day, you will not die. Now, if you will die, you'll get punished for killing yourself. And if you don't die because you were not meant to die, you lose a lot of schuyot because Hashem had to make a miracle that you shouldn't die because it was time for you to die. It's crazy. Everything to understand. Nobody and nothing. But there's a chiv of ishtadlus. I got to make the moves as if. You know what it means? Chavos was right. You have to trust the Rebbe Hashem, but still go for the best doctor. We have to play Jekyll and Hyde. I got to make it as if it's telling me, it's telling the doctor, find the best doctor, but at the same time, no. Rebbe Hashem, I know it's telling you. It's a very big thing. To be able to do those two things is phenomenal. It's crazy. I remember running up the stairs when my kid was in the UCI, in the intensive kid ICU, for the breathing, and I was running up the stairs. It's only when you have to find the best doctor. But it's a juggling act, but it's so beautiful. It's so calmness, it's boundless. Merachim, chazak, taiva, davar, yedea, the davar yishtabus. My dear friends, we gotta stop. This is a topic which we just carry on and on because I just love talking about it because it's so beautiful. And you grow and you grow and you grow. And it's so phenomenal and it's so good and it's so geschmack to feel embraced by the Rebbeinu Shalom 24/7. Nothing bothers you. Of course, you would like things to be this. It hurts your things, but I can thank Rebbeinu Shalom. Everything is the best. It's the best. I wish it would be different, but Hashem knows what. I just can't. It's Hashem Shivyo Siyat Nishmai. We should all become Vitzadik Emunah Siyichias. We should start to learn to live Emunah and start with these 7 things. Big bench guys, I love you guys. You are so good. You're the future of Klal Yisrael. You guys are going to be pushing out. Oh, wow.
No clapping.
Did you say double?